Welcome to The Choice to Grow. I'm Scott Schwenk. Through these dialogues, we'll explore fresh perspectives and discover practical tools for navigating a thriving life that adds value wherever we are. I'll introduce you to innovators and creators from across our world who embody what it means to cultivate growing as a way of life. Let's prepare together. Take a deep breath in. Hold the breath briefly as you soften your shoulders and soften the soles of your feet and palms of your hands. Then exhale like you're releasing tension and setting down a heavy burden from every cell. Now let's dive in. Welcome back, everybody, to The Choice to Grow. This is a very special episode for me, and this person I'm about to introduce you to, I've known for a very long time, more than half of my life. Here I am at 53. Dr. Alejandro Junger is a renowned cardiologist. He's a functional medicine doctor and the founder of the CLEAN program, as well as the New York Times bestselling author. So with decades of experience in medicine, Dr. Junger has dedicated his career to uncovering the root causes of complex health issues that often seem unrelated. His journey began with a profound intuition that a deeper understanding was needed, leading him to explore the intricate connections between Eastern and Western medicine, as well as ancient wisdom and modern science. Through his extensive practice, Dr. Junger discovered that many health challenges are linked to one vital system, and this is a game changer, the gut. This insight propelled him to develop a holistic approach focused on healing the gut, supporting the body's natural detoxification processes, and restoring essential nutrients for optimal function. His innovative protocol has not only transformed his own health, resulting in a newfound vitality, but it has also proven to be a powerful method for his many patients across the globe. Inspired by these results, Dr. Junger founded the CLEAN movement, which emphasizes the importance of gut health and overall wellness. His signature 21-day full-body reset program is meticulously designed to restore the body's natural balance through nutrient-dense smoothies, supplements, and whole food meals. Participants often report a significant shift in mindset and the cultivation of uplifting habits. On a cellular level, the program skillfully redirects energy and nutrition to enhance detoxification, reduce inflammation, and promote gut repair. With a commitment to educating others, Dr. Junger continues to be a leading expert in functional medicine, empowering individuals to reclaim their health and embrace a life of vitality. I have known so many people who've gone through this CLEAN program and had a huge life change, most of whom went in totally skeptical, not sure if they were going to follow through, and the ones who did experienced the change. It's so obvious in their photographs. I met Alejandro many years ago when he was a cardiologist to senior monks in the meditation ashram in India, for the ashram that I basically re-grew up in again. And so he was on his way back after a year, full of charisma, full of stories, always full of charisma, always full of stories. I have so many stories from Alejandro that I continue to tell from India, like the one about the crows. We'll get there. I've spent lots of time with him. I've watched him closely. I watched him while he was formulating the CLEAN program, supplements on every countertop, sorting out what did and didn't work, and really being willing to live and sleep on the floor while he sorted this out for humanity. And so here we are with Dr. Alejandro Junger. It is a joy to be with you, Alejandro. Always, always. Welcome to The Choice to Grow.
My little brother, thank you for having me. It's also a pleasure for me to be here and spend some time. I haven't seen you for a while. I did meet you when you were a kid, and I see a full-grown man, which in a way makes me feel like when I see my kids grow. Yeah, I can't erase the smile on my face. Now, thank you for your kind introduction, but it was a little too generous. And I want to make a distinction between what's your generosity and the reality. So when you started to talk, you said about how I discovered that there was something missing, and and I made a choice to go study this and that, and that makes me sound too good and courageous, and it wasn't like that. It was out of desperation. It was either I shoot myself or I find a way. You understand? Because I grew a very happy life in Uruguay, eating around my family, cooked meals from scratch, sports, friendship, tribe. Nobody had to have an invitation to your house. My house would be full for breakfast, lunch, dinner. As long as there's food, there's friends. And it was a very healthy, wholesome life by design, by default, because there were no supermarkets and there was no TV and there was no cellular phones and nothing like that. So when I graduated, I went to medical school there, and when I graduated medical school with this desire of finding something incredible, my mentor, who was one of the survivors of the Andes, the group of rugbyers that fell in the Andes and had to eat their dead. And he was one of the ones that climbed over. The movie is called Alive. The book is called Alive. He's a cardiologist, and he was my mentor. And with him, dreams were big, and I was going to, in my mind, I was going to study and discover this new. And I was thinking more about opening arteries, right, like angioplasty and things like that, catheterization. So I moved to New York after graduating to read where the books that I was reading in Uruguay were being written. So I started working at NYU and doing my training in internal medicine as an intern and then as a resident. And then I moved to Lenox Hill Hospital as a cardiology fellow. And things were going good. But on the first 3 years, I started gaining a lot of weight. I started having seasonal allergies. And then on the next 3 years, I started developing really heavy weight, continuous allergies, and irritable bowel syndrome and depression. So these were three diagnoses that I was given by three specialists at Lenox Hill Hospital on my 6th year of training, which was when I was about to graduate as a cardiologist. And they prescribed to me 7 prescription medications. One of them was an antidepressant, one of them was an anti-anxiety, one of them was an anti-diarrhea, anti. So I, 7 prescription medications. I said, no, this is not for me, because I knew by that time that these medications, these chemicals, were not going to resolve the problem. They were going to force a certain chemistry that would block the symptoms. But I knew by that time already, because I was a full-blown, not only doctor or internal medicine, but also cardiologist. I knew that all these have side effects, and it's if you have a dam and you have a few holes, you put 3 fingers, but then suddenly the whole thing crashes. So I didn't want that for myself, and I didn't want that for my patients, because that's the medicine that I was practicing. I had this profound disillusion of I should have done. I mean, I was really good with cameras. I should have been a movie director. So I got really depressed, and I went to the doctors. They gave me medications. I said no. So I started looking for a different solution. And the first thing that I noticed was that my mind was making too much noise. It was all the time thinking. Thoughts were appearing in my mind. And I say thoughts were appearing because I wasn't choosing them, because 99.9% of them were negative and repetitive. So I wonder, how are they happening? So then I started reading about it. And the books of psychiatry didn't tell me anything, didn't give me any explanation that I went, wow, I understand. So then I started going into the self-help books, and then I ended up in Eastern religions and philosophies, right? And a book fell on my hands that talked about meditation as the practice through which you slow down and you maybe even stop the flow of negative, repetitive thoughts that grab you and take you places and react with your body. Because if you're a gazelle in the jungle, and and a tiger is coming, it's good to get that fight or flight reaction. But we imagine the tiger coming to kill us, and we're always in fight or flight reaction when we create a reality that doesn't exist. The gazelle, once she escapes, she goes back to being present. Otherwise, if you thought about the tiger, there would be no gazelles. We would all die of a heart attack, right? So meditation makes sense to me. That is how I ended up in the monastery in India where I met you, because I had a very powerful experience with the guru, and I don't have a problem saying the name. You know, it's a Guru Mai, Swami Chisvilas Ananda, whose ashram in the Catskills, upstate New York, was my first introduction. And then I met her in person, face to face. She slapped my chest, and she put me in a state that I cannot really describe to you in words. But the more I read about it, is what I read that people describe what they call cosmic consciousness, where I merged into everything, and I was everything and everybody, and I could read people's minds, and there was no past, present, and future, just the existence. There was no body. So, and it lasted a few minutes. And then after that, I said, wow, this is what I'm looking for. I don't want to be a famous doctor and discover. I just want to be in this state. So I started studying, and then I found out that, through the practice of Siddha Yoga, which is what she teaches, maybe I could learn or practice being in that state until you are in that state, which is what I understand as enlightenment, but it's basically a state of full presence, right? So I wanted that. So I went to the monastery in India. I stayed for a year and a half. That's when we spent time together. And you were a baby just coming out of your, not a baby, you were like the caterpillar. He just had the baby episode, and you were in the cocoon, and it was breaking there.
Yes, 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 yes.
And then you emerged, as this other new being, right? But I was a witness of that, which was a joy. And then I over there I ran the clinic. It was a big ashram. There were 2,000, 3,000 people at any given time from all over the world, some with medical issues. And we had a clinic that had a lot of specialists, people coming to do seva, to do service. They assigned them to wherever they're good at. So there was, my buddy from the buddy system was Divakar, and he was an engineer, so he was in charge of the water supply. And I was a doctor, so I was in charge of the clinic. And there were chiropractors and naturopaths and hands-on healers and Reiki practitioners and osteopaths and Ayurvedic medicine doctors, Chinese medicine doctors. Depends on who was rotating and had that skill, they would do a service there. So we had a clinic with a multidisciplinary clinic. I didn't know it, but I was the director of a multidisciplinary clinic of an alternative and complementary center, very rudimentary in the middle of India, but it was beautiful. So people would come with a problem, and we would sit, and the Ayurvedic doctor gave their opinion, and the Chinese medicine doctor gave his opinion. I gave my opinion, and many times my opinion was, oh, this person has an allergy. Let's give him, it was full of hives, and the breathing was a little bit tight, and let's give him histamine or no histamine, Benadryl to block the histamine, or maybe even steroids, right? When there was a woman with severe problem, and the Ayurvedic medicine doctor, no, let's try first. She's a pitta, and then she's everything eating everything pitta, because she's in India and everything is fiery. So she took away the fiery foods, and then the next day she was completely fine. So, whoa, I was like, and then, but there was sometimes that the Chinese medicine doctor would say, oh, he needs like 2 needles. And I said, no, he needs to go to the hospital right now. There was a monk, I don't know if you remember him, he was very fat. I don't remember his name.
Me neither.
But he was a veteran monk, and he was a sweetheart. And he came one time with chest pain, and the doctors wanted to do all kinds of things. And I said no. So I put him we had a little ambulance there. We put him in the ambulance. We went to Mumbai. I took him to the hospital. And thank God, because his left anterior descendant artery was closing with a clot. And we were able to open it up and put a stent and save his life, you know? So, I have a little bit of training now in, what can solve this problem. No, this one needs to go to the hospital, but this one needs to repair his gut or increase detoxification, and then I know what Ayurveda can do a little bit. I know Western medicine. I'm a cardiologist, but then when I see things, I'm open-minded, and I'm like, oh my God, you stop mango and the hives go away because mango is very fiery. Wow. So then I came back to the United States. I started eating from the hospital cafeteria again. All my symptoms that got much better in India, with the allergies, with the irritable bowel syndrome, and also the depression are were better. The moment I started working in hospitals again, being on call, intensive care unit, eating from the hospital cafeteria, everything came back with a vengeance. At that time, I stumbled upon, a friend of mine took me to the We Care Spa in Desert Hot Springs, where we also had an encounter, you and I. Life brought us together so many times. One of them was in Palm Springs.
Yeah.
You were doing your healing arts there.
Yeah, and you opened the door for me to start teaching. I taught there for about 6.5 years, giving private sessions to their guests. And for the listener, it's a best kept secret. People who've been to We Care all tell me the same thing. If they had a good experience, which most do, they say they feel like they've joined a secret club of people all over the world who
It's
know
not so
something.
secret anymore. It's
Not
very,
so
very
secret.
fashionable for many years. Movie stars and models and supermodels
Yeah,
and billionaires, but also
yeah,
people that save for 3 years to go spend a week.
that's right.
So yeah, and people that go for free also. So it's an amazing place where they have a program. It's basically an intense detoxification program with colonics and supplements based on juicing and all kinds of therapies, breath work, meditation, yoga, you know. And people have a 3 or more days experience, and I was the medical director there, and after I learned, about that, and through that healed all my problems, my depression, my irritable bowel syndrome, my allergies, everything gone. So I became very interested. I couldn't understand because that was not what I was taught in medical school. So I started searching desperately to try to make sense of it. And it was when I found the Institute for Functional Medicine that everything clicked, because I had learned everything that takes to understand at a biological, cellular, physiological level. But I didn't have the approach how to join how to think about it in a different way. And I will explain to you very easily what the difference is. In Western medicine, in medical school, I learned to separate the body in organs. So I became a cardiologist. Friends of mine became lung specialists, nephrologists, the kidney, a hepatologist, the liver, a hormonologist, an endocrinologist. So we separated, right? I went to the heart, and usually the cardiologist doesn't talk to the neurologist, who doesn't talk to the gastroenterologist, who doesn't talk to the psychiatrist, right? So you go from office to office, from island to island. You give him one medication in one place that has a side effect affecting the other place, and so you go to the other organ to deal with that, and then he gives you a medication that calms that but affects the other. And so you connect the organs through problems. On the other hand, functional medicine divides the body in systems that perform certain functions. And many organs participate in one system, and many organs participate in different systems also, right? And in functional medicine, there's 7 systems that are distinguished. One of them is the structural system that entails bones and ligaments and membranes, and it's what gives the body shape and the ability to move in space as a physical being, right? The other system is the communication system, and it involves two methods of communication. Let's say, like regular mail and email, right? The email is much faster. Regular mail would be the hormonal system. It takes time, it's slower, you know. The email would be the nervous system. You can send a message from the tip of your head to the tip of your toe instantly, right? The hormones have to be secreted into blood, transported into blood, you know, by the transportation system. That's the third system. The transportation system is arteries, veins, everything that transports, you know, arteries, veins, a lymphatic system, right? It's like the hoses of the body. The if your house was if your body was a house, the nervous system is all the cablery. The circulatory system, the transportation system is all the hoses that take the fluids, you know. And then you have the digestive absorption and assimilation system. It's the way that you incorporate the outside world, you make it absorbable by digestion, you digest it, and then it goes and it makes part of your muscle, your skin, your hair, your teeth, your hormones, you know? So yeah. Then you have the detoxification system. Because as you live, you burn glucose or you burn ketones into, into carbon dioxide or citric acid or lactic acid. Those are all poisons. Citric acid, lactic acid, carbon dioxide. If they accumulate inside of you, you die. So they have to be detoxified and eliminated. And there's many internal toxins, but there's also external toxins, exotoxins. Nowadays, more than ever, because we eat them, we drink them, we put them on our skin, we put them in our mattresses, in our furniture, in our cleaning utensils, in our cleaning products, mostly in the food-like products that we eat, the ultra-processed foods that occupy 95% of what modern society is feeding itself from.
I also like that you said food-like products. They're not
Yes,
food, they're food-like.
edible stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. So you see that all of these are systems. Now, for example, the intestines are an important part of the digestive absorption system. They're a very important part of the detoxification system. There's a system that I didn't mention, which is the defense and repair system, which is what we call immune system. That 70% of it lives within and around the intestines. So intestines are also part of the immune or repair and defense system, defense and repair system, right? So now they're part of the digestive system, they're part of the absorption system, they're part of the repair system. They're part of the circulatory system because there's a huge net of arteries and veins around the intestines. Huge. It's called the mesenteric tree, right? And it's into where nutrients get thrown when they are absorbed from the lumen of the intestine through the intestinal wall. They're dumped into the circulatory system, which will transport them everywhere, right? And there's a huge nervous system, communication systems. A brain bigger than the brain inside your skull lives within and around the gut, where 90% of the neurotransmitters that are the chemicals that end up sending signals through the cables, they ignite the cable, you know, they're produced in the gut. Serotonin, the most famous one of them, but now dopamine is also very much in fashion, you know. But there's many more. There's epinephrine, norepinephrine, acetylcholine, gabapentin. I mean, you can, you know, there's many, and there's opioid-like compounds, you know. So 80, 90% of all these compounds are produced in the brain, in the gut, your second brain or your largest brain, or the neuroenteric organ, right? So there you go. In the intestines, meet the nervous system or communication system, the absorption and digestion system, the detoxification system, the hormonal system. There's lots of hormones that are produced in the gut, and lots of hormones affect the gut in many different ways. The hormonal system, all systems meet in the gut, and
Mm.
there's one system that is not really a system, but the microbiome. There's
Mm.
like 3-4 kilos of bacteria inside of you normally in a healthy gut. And
Wow.
this is like an organ. This weighs as much as your liver. Your liver maybe weighs a little
Wow.
more, a little less. So it's an organ if you put them all together. And if you count the number of bacteria, is is 9 times more than your number of cells in your body.
Wow.
So you are 90% bacterial, really,
Oh,
right? And this organ performs tons of functions, right? Detoxification, pre-digestion, so that the body is able to absorb. Um, it's it's training and keeping alert the immune system. It's sending signals to your brain to even make you crave certain things or exhibit certain behaviors, right? Like those mice that were given different bacteria in the gut from dogs or something. They ended up chasing the cats.
huh.
Yeah, I mean, don't quote me exactly, but it's something like that.
Yeah.
But true, it's an experiment that's been done. So bacteria now are guiding a lot of unconscious people behavior and experience. Um, that's what I learned, and then how trauma also affects this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So everything meets in the gut, and I
Which comes
arrived.
first, Alejandro, the trauma or the gut imbalance?
There is no first. There
Ah,
is no first. Nothing. Because there is no past, present, and future. So
yeah.
it's part of the same thing, right?
Huh.
But I understand your question, and to think about it in a practical way, it can be both ways.
Huh.
It can be both ways. Listen, I am dealing with it right now. I mean, well, I'm in Argentina because I came here to do something called discolysis, which is injecting ozone in between my vertebra, L3, L4, L4, L5. Why? Because after an accident, my discs were destroyed, and Western medicine wants to do a fusion surgery. They want to fuse L3 with L4 with L5, L3 with L4, L4 with L3. Fuse the whole thing, and without the movement, there's not going to be compression of my nerves. There's not going to be pain. But it's not always effective. There's potential problems, and then there's future problems because when you fuse the one in the bottom and the one in the top have to do more work, right? So they get worn out, and then in a few years you need to fuse them, and you end up fused. You end up like a tripod.
Well, and
So
like you said, I imagine I'm not a doctor, but I imagine from what you said about the way uh, restorative medicine, Western medicine typically operates, where it's treating just symptoms, not dealing with root causes or the interconnection of all systems, the lack of oscillation in those discs and the impact on all the organ systems that are connected to those discs, let alone all the other implications energetically, emotionally, spiritually, and so on, of limiting movement.
yes, yes. And I've been experiencing firsthand what you just said. What's the impact not only in the nerves and and in your gut or whatever, but in your emotions. I've been dealing with deep depression at the moments of pain, even with suicidal ideation, of just let it be. But
Yeah,
I haven't explored my options. So I'm not going to do it before I explore the options, right? And
yeah,
today you see me with 100 kilos of my chest because I had the procedure the day before yesterday, They inject these big needles connected to a machine, ozone machine generator, and they have to do it under fluoroscopy, under X-ray. And it's an 84-year-old neurosurgeon who is unbelievable. He's an enlightened being,
Huh.
and he puts it right in between, where the vertebrae are, punctures there, and insufflates with ozone, and that not only creates a little bit of pneumatic space, it's like inflating a deflated tire, right? And the rim is not touching the ground anymore, right? A little bit of that, but
Yeah.
also it's like injecting a, it's like injecting hydrogen peroxide or Clorox inside the vertebra. It kind of dissolves the impurities, the spikes, and that, if you do with Clorox, you burn it and
Mm.
you inflame it. But
Mm.
with this, it calms down the inflammation.
Huh.
And if there's bacteria, fungus, viruses, things that shouldn't be there, it saps them on like a off,
Yeah.
And until now, I had it 3 times. This is my fourth time.
Hmm.
It lasts for about a month and a half. I've been given exercises from a approach called Bambiomecanica, a lady that also has very special gifts and magic hands. So I had my injection, then I went with her. After the injection, the torturous pain had gone, but there was a lot of other pains, right, that remained. I had a session with her, everything was gone. Today I
Huh.
have a little bit of it. Tomorrow I'm having a session with her, and she's gonna give
Huh.
me exercises that this time. Oh no, Shiva, I promise I'm gonna do them because I did. I was very half-assed with my exercises.
Okay, everybody, you heard that. Send him extra
Yeah,
energy so he does his exercises. Because you know
yeah.
what I know about you, not just you, but what I know about you observing your life over 26 years is that all the challenges you've experienced end up helping thousands and thousands of other people. Not because you sit back and go, gosh, I want to suffer so I can help some more people, but it's just what's happening. Somehow the larger sphere of life, the collective, the part you're playing or others of us are playing, and I think this is a really important contemplation about the choice to grow is
It's it's what the woke call the the wounded healer.
yeah, and that's something that like almost not almost I get sick to my stomach, want to vomit when I hear that now, because we've some of us have unwittingly, I had for a while, fetishized the wound and turned it into some sort of a false god. And first tier energetics, this is now the work of Donnie Epstein. First tier energetics, you require pain to grow. I mean, we know, you and I know, in biological systems, if a system does not have novel energy injected into it, injected, that entropy kicks in. The universal forces tear it apart back into free energy, so it can create something else. But if
Yeah,
novel
but
energy is
but but let me let
ejected,
me let
yeah,
me let me tell you where I think a little bit different,
please.
right? Because you said you need sometimes
In
pain to
in first
grow,
tier
right?
energetics, in second
So
next
wait,
tier
wait, 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 wait,
energetics, you
wait,
don't.
wait. From my experience,
Yeah, yeah,
right, and what I learned from Baba and Guru Mai and many more,
mm,
is that there is no need for pain to grow. Growing necessarily causes pain because it's the friction. It's like as you passing from to a more expanded vibration, you just it's friction, and that is experienced in many different ways, but it's not many times it's not pleasant, and that
right,
and that is it's like it's inevitable to suffer. Now,
yeah,
what is not inevitable or could be not inevitable is to suffer unconsciously.
yes, yes.
Because if
This is
there's
and this is what
there's
we're talking
things
about.
the things that if you make yourself suffer consciously, the more you suffer consciously, the less you're going to have to suffer unconsciously. Like, for example, that's why in the ashram they make you do the dishes. You eat and you go, you do the dishes. It's a suffering. and you have to, I mean, it was a pain in my ass, but you go, and you suffer. Meditation, in a way, it's conscious suffering.
Well, I'm confronting all of my contractions when I sit. When I quiet the mind, I'm going to confront whatever's there that I may be historically distracted from through social media scrolling or searching for this or that or medicating in some sort of a way. But the point I'm interested in is really, for my study, coming from basic alchemy, hermetic alchemy. You've got a point A where there's something happening that's we don't like it, or it's painful, or it's problematic, or it's harming others. That's point A. That's the lump of coal. Okay, what's the point B? What's the diamond? What is the energetic of that? Not from a thought, not from a story, but like, what is the more coherent energy? Maybe it's the mantra energy in Om Namah Shivaya. Maybe it's being slapped on the chest by somebody who's living in a very coherent state at that moment.
I
Maybe it's
think, I
doing
think,
work
I
over
think,
time.
I think is pure is presence.
Right.
When
But
you
that's a
arrive to the
novel
state
thing
of
for
presence,
humanity.
that's it.
That's a novel thing for most of humanity if we look at the experience that people express. You know, you and I have both worked with thousands of people over the years and seen some themes. I've had people come in, over and over again who are saying, "Oh me, oh my, this pain," or "I keep attracting these unavailable people to date, and it's painful," or this or that. Okay, wait, are you doing practices to transform your consciousness? Are you doing practices that are going to transform how you're breathing, how you're holding your body? Oh, well, I try.
I'll give you an example that is very simple,
Yeah,
very simple, and then you don't have to do 20 minutes a day in a quiet room with the you know with your altar and nothing, nothing,
sure.
and it's conscious suffering,
Huh.
and it's a way to put your person in the state of presence, and we're going to do it right now as we speak,
Great.
right?
Great.
So as we speak, now you're looking at the in the camera direction of the camera, and I can see it. No, I mean you can look at me. You can look at me. You can look at my eyes. So I'm going to look at the camera and look at my eyes. But don't focus just there. Do the conscious effort of also noticing the rims of the computer, the keyboard, the wall behind the computer. Keep on looking at me, see me, but notice from the corner of your eyes everything else. Your table, your hands, the camera, the ceiling. Keep on looking at me and keep on seeing everything at the same time. Now, suddenly you became a little more still because you are making the conscious effort to look. Otherwise, the eyes just go drawn just to me and they're focusing
Mm.
on me. Yeah? But look at, you may have plants, you have a statue, a painting, whatever. Just notice everything at the same time, all the time, and keep on doing it, right? And as you listen to me and you notice everything, now put some of your attention on your feet. Feel your feet intensely from inside. Measure the temperature, the humidity, the orientation. Are your toes looking straight forward or to the sides? Are you wearing socks? What's the consistency or the touch of the socks? Keep on feeling your feet, seeing everything. Don't forget, notice the ceiling, notice the table, and feel your feet. Now you have to do double conscious effort. It's an effort. It's a pain. It's a pain in the ass. This is not something you were doing before. Yeah, you have your feet there, but now I'm asking you to keep your attention there and everything that surrounds you. And now add to your feet your knees, your thighs, your butt against the chair, your back, your shoulders, your neck, your face, your tongue, right? So feel your body all the time at the same time from inside as you see everything. And you also put some attention on what I'm saying to try to understand and relate. And now notice how all the other thoughts are gone because you're anchoring your attention in the present. Your feet, your hands, your body is in the present. And whatever else you can see in your field of vision is in the present. So you're putting your attention there, you're anchoring your attention there, you're becoming more present. Now, can you hear me?
Mm.
Now, if we
Yeah.
didn't have earphones, and I don't know if yours is noise canceling or
No.
transparent, but you could add also what the sounds. I've been kind of hearing some birds, 'cause I'm in the middle of a garden here. Um, so you can add that, right? And then you can add your breathing. And you're going to have to be so busy putting your attention in all those places that there's not going to be attention left to go into the thinking mind, the monkey mind, the broken radio. Now, when you're not doing all of that, all the attention, because attention is like blood, it's flowing all the time, and it has to go somewhere. So
Yep.
when you don't direct it yourself, it goes to the place where it's less resistance, which is your your mind, your thought, which is ethereal, right? And sometimes even your emotions. So you're feeling and thinking and feeling and thinking, like out of control.
Yeah.
Why? Because attention is just flowing to where there is less resistance. And if you at all times of the day remember to feel your feet, feel your hands, see everything. I call it a fisheye
Yeah.
view. And you even walk around like that, or you have meetings like that,
Yeah.
then you're always a little more present, until you are
I
fully
love this
present.
practice. I love this practice. And I love the research around how holding two or more things in mind at the same time shifts attention from the hindbrain into the frontal cortex, where we can actually make better
And
decisions.
it's not holding, no, it's not holding things. What you're doing is
Attending.
you're putting your willpower to work, because
Yeah.
to feel your feet, you have to send an electrical impulse in a long cable. It goes out down your spine, and then your femoral artery vein, and then your tibial vein, and then to the feet, and then to the receptors of temperature, humidity, and then it has to come back. You're activating that nerve. You're sending electricity. It's like turning on, if I in your house, the cable that goes from that wall to the light that's up there. Right now, the light is off. The cable is idle. But if I switch it on, there's going to be electricity running. So there's going to be resistance. So the cable is going to get hot. That's the same thing that happens to your cable. But to turn the switch on, that's the effort. And the problem is that you have to hold it there. Maybe that's what you meant by holding two things in
Yes.
your
Yes.
brain.
Holding or
You
attending
have
to,
no
not, no
idea.
grasping, no grasping, no grasping.
The intention,
Yeah.
the switch, you have to hold it, and then you have to switch the one that sees everything, and you have to switch the one that hears everything. And that is such an effort. That is conscious suffering. There's no space for anything else.
Mm-hmm. Mine is that I give is the 6 points of softening. So I grew up as such a perfectionist, and I was trained by Sally Kempton Durgananda to do a body scan. Start at your feet, work your way up. By the time I got to my knees, I'm already in an expanded state, but I was a perfectionist, so I'm back in my thoughts again. I've lost my place, and I remember sitting on my couch going, F this, you've got to show me another way. I'm by myself in my room, and one by one, these points lit up in the body, and the voice says, soften them like you're opening a fist. Soles of your feet, palms of your hands, all the corners of the eyes, region around the ears, tongue, and pelvic floor. Soles, palms, eyes, ears, tongue, pelvic floor. Let the breath slow
Functionally,
down.
functionally, what are you doing? You turning the cable of attention into all these parts, which is the same thing that we were doing 5 minutes ago.
Yeah,
You're feeding your
same thing.
feet, yeah. But you go a little further because you soften them,
Yes.
you know? So that's
Yeah.
also an active thing,
Mm-hmm.
So it's maybe a little more powerful, but you compensate that in the practice we were doing before by also doing the visuals and the auditory.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah. The auditory one is, I find for me and others, so much easier in a busy, crowded place when you're learning it, like to go to a mall or a marketplace. And then, because there's so many different sounds, it's easier to not latch on to one particular sound and start thinking about it and focusing on it.
Yeah, but there's also more power in keeping that on when there's not too much, because then
Yeah.
the subtle comes in. A
Yeah.
bird that's singing 3 blocks away, you get.
And
Listen,
we have got
they're all good practices. They're all good
all.
practices, and for everybody, they work in a different way. For you, it may be this one in the mall, and this one in the when you're walking, and and it's you have to find yours. That's why you have to try.
Yeah. And that's also valuable. I've seen this in my own world. You know, we're in different states at different moments. When prior to the injection, maybe on the airplane from UK to down to where you are in Argentina, it's a lot for me in a fairly healthy state to sit in an airplane seat for over an hour. So it's one thing what practice I can select and have easy access to when things are seemingly going well. There's money in the bank, the lover is still there, the children are kind, like this, colleagues are getting along. Who are we when we've been accused of something we didn't do, lost the money, got in a terrible car accident, in horrible pain? If we haven't been training, so we need to be present enough to be kind to ourselves to go, what do I have in this moment? What can I do? Not what should I do? Not where like I should suddenly be able to be aware of pure consciousness when my best friend just died or something like this. I might be thrown into that state, but there's like a start where we are kind of thing. And that's why I like what you've just shown us is we can all start there. We can start with the vision.
In the meantime,
Mm.
don't do it all about just being present. Repair your gut. Everybody walking around in the modern world today is walking around with some degree of gut dysfunction, of gut injury. What I call gut injury is the dysfunction or the problem in one of four components. One
Mm.
of them is the microbiome, the
Mm.
gut bacteria and fungus and viruses and parasites. It's a zoo there. It's not just bacteria, right? So you have to uh, the damage, the alteration of that is one of the problems. The second problem is the gut
Pause one
wall.
second. I have to say this thing you said many years ago to me that just coming into mind, and I've said it so many times to so many people. And I think it was from your work with Gurdjieff. You said at any given moment, your mind is a zoo, and you're either the zookeeper or you become lunch for the animals.
Now, the zoo really is in the gut.
Okay.
And when this zoo gets altered, a lot of things get altered. The immune system gets altered, the digestion and absorption of very important nutrients get altered, the nervous system gets altered, irritable bowel syndrome, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, cancers, diabetes, metabolic inflexibility. I mean, so many things, right? So inflammation, basically, right? So the gut wall, the wall should be intact. The cells should be stuck like bricks together on a wall with cement. That cement is called the tight junction. And modern life and dysbiosis, which is the change in and the toxins that are destroying that. So everybody's walking around with some degree of hyperpermeability, which in the common lingo is leaky gut,
Mm.
right? So dysbiosis and leaky gut, this is the Achilles heel of modern disease, of human beings in health, right? This is where 99.9, if not 100% of the chronic diseases of the modern world begin, with the breaking of the microbiome and the hyperpermeability, the leakiness of the gut wall. That when it's leaking, not only instead of only digested food, amino acids, fatty acid esters, and simple carbohydrates should be passing. Now, through the spaces, bacteria, viruses, parasites, undigested food, they pass, and the immune system within the gut and around the gut starts getting crazy. Sometimes it gets confused and it starts attacking parts of yourself. Those are the autoimmune diseases. Then sometimes the leaky gut leads to leaky brain. You know, the hematoencephalo barrier is also leaky. So leaky gut leads to leaky brain, and vice versa, right? And when that happens, mental fog and all kinds of problems, right? The nervous system also suffers. It starts producing neurotransmitters that instead of going to balance you and keep you present and help with that process and allow repair and detoxification, no, they enter into adaptation and survival mechanisms, and they cortisol and all kinds of things to kind of increase the healing and the so the whole body goes into disarray. So what I say is the mother of preventive medicine and the father of curative medicine, of healing medicine, is gut repair. And until you don't try a gut repair program, don't bother going injecting hormones and take, you first you repair your gut and then everything corrects by itself. And what doesn't correct by itself, then there are people that can, bring in what's needed, right? But in functional medicine, we always say that, that disease happens for two reasons. Something is blocking the normal functioning, or something is missing for the normal functioning to happen. And when you remove the blockages and you add what is missing, everything corrects by itself. That's the healing. The healer doesn't heal you. The healer helps you create the conditions to remove what is the obstacles and provide what is lacking. And then
Is it beneficial for us to do gut biome tests? There's several of them out there, or is it just start a program?
in certain cases, yes. And if you are of the type that needs information and needs data and needs a way to track progress, there's many tests that are helpful. But listen, I propose this as a world solution for health, not just for the rich that can get tests. And the truth is that when you start doing certain things that have been done for thousands of years, simple, like eating real foods and not food-like products,
Mm-hmm.
like not bombarding your life with nasty chemicals in the food like products you eat. So when you eat real foods and organic, then there's no source of toxins, right? Instead of drinking from plastic bottles, use glass bottles so that you don't end with microplastics. Instead of buying a volatile paints for your house, you buy biological paints for your house without iron, without without VOCs, volatile organic compounds that are poison. If you buy a mattress, you buy a mattress without fire retardant, who is off gassing these chemicals that you spent a third of your life in for all your life. You're breathing this shit. And when you use cleaning products in your house, maybe you use white vinegar instead of a floor, cleaner or Windex. And,
Yeah.
and and when you you brush your teeth with paste without fluoride and other chemicals, and like that, blah blah blah. The most important thing is what you eat and what you drink, right? And when you start doing those things, um, everything starts correcting. And
Hmm.
also becoming present and healing the trauma and hugely important, because trauma is the number one. Forget about the toxins, forget about the aisles of boxes and jars and cans and tubes and plastics that we're eating all day long as if it was food, full of chemicals, and the glyphosate and genetically modified organisms. Trauma is still the number one factor. So you can be eating the right thing and taking the right supplements, and if you don't heal your trauma, I've seen patients like this for years, and then suddenly they went to family constellations or breath work or deep tissue massage, and some trauma got released and processed and paid attention to, and then boom, and then the gut heals.
Alejandro, are there studies that you've seen? I'm asking because I've heard contradictory information. Like there's one fellow who's got a big organization doing healing work and says trauma is not stored in the body. He's a doctor of chiropractic. And then other people like Basil van der Kolk or all these people say, yeah, the body keeps this stored. It is stored in the tissue. What have you learned or observed about where is trauma
I am
stored?
not good. I am not good at remembering studies and bibliography and all of that. And yes,
Yeah.
there are studies, but I don't in this subject, in this question.
Huh.
I don't need studies. My
Sure.
studies are the studies of life. I've known people that went into a session and had body work or breath work, and that was the opening to the healing of their trauma.
Sure.
And, so I don't need studies for that. Yeah,
Have you
studies.
seen people simply go into the clean program without any psychological work and traumas are releasing because they've transformed
Thousands,
the body? Okay, so this is
thousands.
important. Say more about this.
Thousands of people that are going to the clean program and end up realizing how little attention they have for their kids, how little patience. They
Hmm.
become better mothers.
Mm.
They feel like they're able to drop antidepressants guided by their doctors. They're able to stop medications for high blood pressure, for sleeping, for hormonal imbalances. So I mean, it touches healing the gut touches every organ in your body, every system in your body. Why? Because we are like plants. Now, plants have the roots into the earth. Our roots are mobile because we had to move around. So we inverted them and we put them inside the body, inside the gut.
Mm.
And instead of being rooted in the earth, we use portable earth, which is the foods that we eat.
I've
But
never heard that example. I love that. That's so
plants
obvious.
suck their nutrients from the root, from the earth, through the roots. We suck our nutrients through our gut from the food, which is the earth, right? And
Yeah.
the earth, just like the earth around the plant, has to have certain microorganisms, even funguses. There's a whole mycelial network that connects plants and roots and prepares nutrients for the plants to absorb, just like the gut bacteria in your gut and the microbiome, the good fungus do that for you. They communicate, and when the roots are fine and the soil is fine, then you have beautiful flowers, leaves, fruits, right? And when they're not, a gardener, when the fruits are not thriving, doesn't go and paint the fruit, or the leaves are brown, doesn't go and paint the leaves green. He goes and check: is there enough sun? Is there enough water? Is there enough nutrients? Right? Are there any parasites that shouldn't be there? And when you fix that, boom, the fruits become beautiful.
You and I have heard and said this to each other many times, as within, so without, this ancient teaching about how energy works. And it seems obvious to me, listening to you, that as more of us really get a healthy relationship with our gut, we start treating the planet and our communities differently, just naturally by extension.
Yeah, and listen, uh, there was a guru that I had very controversial experience with, right? But he was one of the biggest gurus of our time. He only died, I think, 8 years ago, and people went to see him from all over the world, and heads of state, and I mean, he had the biggest ashram in the world. It's a
Mm.
whole city in Bangalore. In Puttaparthi is the name, and he used to say, and I'm not promoting him, or I had a great experience, but I had a really bad experience, that I don't
No, I
think
know it
anyone
and I'm not
should,
sharing
and
it.
people are sharing it all over the internet, and some people had committed suicide because of it, and but he used to say something that really called my attention. He used to say, because when he went with the lucky followers, that like 3 or 4 a day, that were able to go into this private little temple, and he used to materialize things, right? Like a watch or a chain out of thin air, right?
Mm.
And he used to give it. People went, ah. So a lot of criticism, because what, you're giving jewelry to him. And he used to say, I give people what they want in the hope that one day they will want what I really have to give them, right?
Yeah.
So I don't when I practice with patients, I don't go into the spirituality too much. I'm dealing with my spirituality enough.
Mm.
So I'm not a teacher. I'm not who to come and tell you this or that. What I do is, I focus on the gut. But what happens is that when you fix the gut, all these other things become available to you in a much more powerful way.
Yeah. More bandwidth.
Better neurotransmitters.
Yeah.
No inflammation that's utilizing not only your resources in terms of nutrients, but your energy. We have two types of energy. The one that's produced by burning glucose in the Krebs cycle, and it transforms into ATP, right, in the mitochondria that everybody's talking about these days. But there's another different energy that the Chinese call qi, the Hindus call in part kundalini, but shakti, more shakti, right? Um, which is also necessary, and we also have a limited amount at any given day, which is why we get tired and we need to go to sleep to recharge it. You don't recharge it by eating the nutrients that you're going to burn down, like either glucose or ketone bodies, right? In the mitochondria through glycolysis. This energy you get from sleeping. That's why you don't do anything. You go to sleep and you wake up recharged, right? So there's these two energies that are being consumed and used for everything we do, for thinking, for seeing, for smelling, for the liver to be working, for your intestines to be transporting food, your gut wall to absorb it, your circulatory system and your heart to pump. Everything is using these sources of energy, right? It's like your house. Your body is like your house, and every system, every organ is uh, an appliance in your house, right? And they're using what? They're all plugged into the main source, right? But here, the main source comes from the city, so it's constant, right? Unless there's a blackout. But in your body, the source comes from the production of ATP, which is kind of limited, and the energy that you have stored, which is kind of limited. I mean, it's unlimited, but it's you have to get there, right? So um, every system in your body is like an appliance that's using up energy. If your energy is used in a lot of digesting, that's why we're eating all day long, digesting all day long, consuming that energy all day long. There's going to be less energy left for other systems.
Hmm.
So you get tired when you eat a lot. You go into digestion. So digesting all day long is one of the diseases of the modern world, right? So when you stop digesting, you give your digestion work a rest, it allows for energy to be relocated to other things, repair, detoxification, right? So it's so important in my clinical practice. I don't do anything before I repair their guts.
Hmm.
And usually repairing their guts solve whatever other problem they actually came to with me. So I give them what they want in the hopes that one day because and that comes for this. A lot of people do it to lose weight. And it's a great way to lose weight. People lose a lot of weight and they look better, and a lot of people do it for that. So I give them what they want in the hope that one day they'll understand what I really have to give them, which is gut repair
Hmm.
and enhanced detoxification can really do for them, which basically is the way that they look better and they lose weight. So it
So
all
somebody
ties
does
up.
the clean program, they follow it meticulously. How often is it beneficial to do it again? Once a
Well, it's
year,
like
once every
taking a
6
shower. If
months?
you take a really good shower, exactly like it should be done, and you brush your everything and with a nice soap without toxins, how often is the next shower has to be? Depends. If you finish your shower, you go jump in the mud, and you go sweat, and you go paint, and then maybe you need a shower that same day.
Hmm.
But if you don't do much, and you keep yourself clean, right? Then you don't need a shower in a week, like the French. So it's a little bit different because what I'm trying to say, if you do a gut repair program and then you continue implementing the tools to allow the gut to keep healthy, like for example, eating fiber, and not eating sugar, understanding what your trigger foods are, not taking antibiotics unless life-saving and absolutely necessary, And then, hanging out with your friends and having fun and practicing these tools to stay present and adding the foods, that your body actually needs. And that's the way you maintain it. But if you do all those things, you may not need to do the clean program ever again, which is my hope.
Huh.
Which is my hope. This is just a way to get back on track and fix things a little bit so that you can continue, right?
And what about this
Now,
business of, let's say you've done the clean program really successfully. There, in the world of functional medicine, there's such a promotion of things like NAD or now NR, the precursor to NAD,
oh, those are
things like
different
this
things.
total
Those
plasma
are those are
exchange.
those are different things, right? What I'm talking about is the root of healing. What
Yeah.
you're talking about is the world of biohacking and longevity, right?
Okay.
So that is like, and it's great and it's fantastic, right? And I love it, and I read about it, and I try. I'm trying BPC 157 now, which is a peptide, body protective compound 157, which is a peptide that helps heal the gut, and if you inject it more locally, it helps heal the whatever area, right? So I'm trying that. I tried microdosing with growth hormone. I'm open to all of these things. What I learned is that most of these things you either need to do it all the time. It takes expensive equipment. BPC 157 is $300 $400 a vial. It's a lot of expense. Some of them work, some of them don't. It's not that I'm not interested in those things. I am, but it's not the main way in
Sure.
which I help people. I
I just
talk
know we
about
have
other
many
stuff.
biohackers listening who do cleanses on the regular, and they're like doing this and not knowing necessarily, am I just spending a lot of money or is this actually doing something of value?
Well, I'll tell you the ones that I do like: infrared sauna and regular sauna. Convection sauna is amazing too. Cold plunges, if done in the right way and at the right time. Like, women shouldn't be doing them when they're menstruating because it kind of fucks them up. Same thing with intermittent fasting, different in women than in men, or long-term periods of fasting. Infrared light, ozone. I'm injecting ozone between my vertebrae. It's not like I'm a, you know. So there are things that work, right? And there are
Yeah,
some things that are
we don't know.
fashion.
Yeah, expensive and maybe do nothing. After I had first round of being very sick from the thing that the world experienced, I don't even want to say it. I was put by my functional medicine PA into 2 rounds, one a month of this intravenous ozone cleansing, like 10 rounds through the blood,
I did
some
that
German
too.
procedure.
Amazing,
Yeah,
amazing.
it was
Yeah,
gone. I was healed, and then hyperbaric oxygen chamber twice in 1 week got the fluid out of my lungs.
another amazing technology. But that's not new.
Right.
The
Yeah.
machines are getting better and better, but that's an
Well,
old
same with
old
total
way.
plasma exchange. I was gifted it last month or month and a half ago, and the people that were there from the company, it was a training exercise for a new group of people we're going to offer it next out. And the lady's like, "We've been doing this in hospital for years and years and years. This is not a new technology. Separating out you know what it is, separating out the plasma and then putting in opportunities for the plasma
Well, in a
to
way, that's
regrow.
what dialysis is.
Is
It's
it?
not. It's not total plasma exchange, but they're putting your blood through a membrane that has a clean plasma. So things by osmosis they go from the dirty blood into the clean plasma blood, so they equalize it better. So you're
Yeah.
cleaning the patient. So it's not the same, but it's kind of based on, you take the blood out, you put it back in. Whatever you do in the middle is different, but yeah, same thing
Touch
with
on for a moment
ozone.
the things that can happen for some of us. I know it happens for me certain times doing a cleanser, this total plasma exchange. I didn't remember them saying stay away from people for a few days while you're building new immunity because I didn't remember that all the white blood cells were in that plasma that was taken. I had to rebuild. So I got a
Not all of
gnarly
them.
flu.
Not all of them. not
Okay.
all of them, and not the information, and
Okay. Okay.
yeah, maybe stay away, but it's not. I mean, it's pretty fast.
But the question is more about like when we're doing certain protocols, there's language that some of us have heard of, like having a healing crisis. It doesn't mean the treatment's not working. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, that happens
What's
all
up?
the time. When you're digesting all day long and eating food-like products all day long and stressed all day long, so things get overwhelmed. The detox system cannot work, so toxins keep circulating. So the body reacts because the body only knows how to adapt and survive. So the body starts adaptation and survival mechanisms. The two most simple, diffuse, and common are the retention of mucus, the formation and retention of mucus to surround the toxins and buffer their irritation, and the retention and formation of fat. Because most molecules that are toxic in the body only dissolve in fat. So the body intelligently generates and retains fat in order to allow these toxins to dissolve in it and not cause more damage, to buffer their irritation. So the toxicity of our planet is a huge factor in the epidemic of obesity. The obesity that we see in America, yeah, it has to do with some of it with calories and inactivity but a lot of it, maybe more than we ever. I mean, most people don't even think about it, but the ones that think about it, maybe even more than what they think about, is the adaptation and survival mechanism that the body is turning on to defend itself from the barrage, the attack of toxic molecules,
Toxic
microplastics,
load. Yeah.
glyphosate. That because we're eating all day long and digesting all day long and don't have the right bacteria and don't have the right nutrients, the liver cannot even manufacture the detoxification enzymes that it has to manufacture to perform the activities to fulfill the function of detoxification. It's done through enzymes. And enzymes are made of what? Are manufactured in the liver cells, and they need vitamin C, they need zinc, and if you're not magnesium, if you're not eating the magnesium and not absorbing the magnesium, because most people are magnesium deficient, and vitamin D3 and vitamin D, most people are depleted, and vitamin D is more and more now in more studies uh, um, known to be absolutely necessary. Some doctors don't even test it; they just give you vitamin D because you cannot even overdose on vitamin D. So there's a lot of things that you can do without testing and without biohacking, and maybe with supplements, maybe without supplements. If you're in a country that is poor and like Haiti or what, you tell the people to take a little more sun, and that will
Hmm.
increase their vitamin D, right?
Hmm.
So yes, a lot of spectrum of tests to doing it blind are possible. I have success with both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
do
you
you
have to
like
be
to, when you're
careful.
treating somebody before they begin your program, if they're under your personal care, they're your client, do you like to get blood work before and after to see or to show them the
It
changes?
depends. It depends. Some people really need it, and some people are
Huh.
very number oriented, and they don't believe it if they don't see, right? So for
Yeah.
them, and they have money, and yeah, let's do everything.
Yeah.
I have friends that are experts in genetic testing. I have friends that are experts in reading all these functional, and even the laboratory today. They send you the report. I mean, where you measure all these things that your regular doctor doesn't measure. Going from vitamin D to zinc, magnesium, homocysteine. A lot of doctors don't send any markers for inflammation, CRP, ESR. I mean, there's
Hematocrit.
so many laboratories. I mean, you can spend thousands and thousands of dollars, and if you want to, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The more information, the better. But the thing is, until you repair your gut, you don't even should do anything to correct all those things, because once you repair your gut, 99% of the people that have those things abnormal go back to normal.
Is there anybody who should seek different counsel first, like shouldn't jump right into a cleanse like the clean program? Is there anybody that should be aware of
Yeah, like if
anything?
you have an autoimmune disease and you're taking, for example, I recently helped a woman that had the diagnosis of dermatomyositis, autoimmune dermatomyositis, which is kind of a cousin of lupus, and you know, so it attacks your muscles and it attacks your skin, and your own immune system attacks your muscle. Now, what most people don't know, most most rheumatologists that are the ones that specialize in these things don't know is that the immune system of the people gets confused in the gut with a leaky gut and dysbiosis. So when you correct that, the confusion stops. Now, what they do to these people, because they don't know that, they they the immune system is attacking them. They give them medications to suppress the immune system so it doesn't attack them. But it doesn't attack any other threat. So they're more prone to cancers, they're more prone to infections, they're more prone to other things, right? So instead of giving these immunosuppressants, which another word for them are chemotherapy, because what do you do with chemotherapy? The immune system cells are cells that reproduce very rapidly. What other cells reproduce very rapidly? The bone marrow, red blood cells, white blood cells, and the testicles. They're making spermatozoids all day long, right? So when you give in chemotherapy, when you give immunosuppressants, you're suppressing cells that divide rapidly. So, for example, you give immunosuppressant, you may make them anemic, or you may make them more prone to infections, or even cancer, because cancer cells reproduce more rapidly. So these medications stop the reproduction. So they have their, but when you fix their gut, the immune system gets unconfused.
Hmm.
So I helped this woman recently, but she couldn't just go and do the program by her own because she needed coordination. You know, I spoke to her rheumatologist. I said, listen, she was on methotrexate and prednisone. Methotrexate is a cancer medication, it's chemotherapy, and prednisone. And we were starting tapering them off, the prednisone more cautiously than the methotrexate, and monitoring for a lot of things, right? And we did it successfully. If I showed you the pictures of before and after, you wouldn't believe. I mean, I can't because I'm filming myself with my phone, and so I can't show you. I have those pictures in my phone. In any case, yes, sometimes you need, but for the majority of people, 60, 70, 80% of people walking around with all these ailments, you don't need to do anything. You just jump right into it.
Right on. Right on. Alejandro, there's a question I ask every guest, and it's based on my favorite quote from Shunryu Suzuki Roshi, who opened the Zen Center of San Francisco in the 60s, who and confronted a lot of life challenges starting young. And he said often, death is certain, the time is not. What is the most important thing? So what is the most important thing to Alejandro Junger?
My kids. Simple.
Yeah.
And then right after that is, you know, and of course being present for my kids and for myself, and you know, because without being present you can't really express the most of your potential, right? So that is even more important than my kids, because then, you know, but my kids, and then my what I enjoy doing, which is helping people, you know. And it just happens that in my path many times I have to help myself first.
It's easier for us to learn from somebody who's already living it, because then I can get it downloaded from their nervous system just being with them. A lot of things. But if you're not living it, just telling the stories, you know, years ago, I'll tell on myself, I reached a period where something happened in my life that shook my confidence. I didn't realize it. My phone stopped ringing, all but 2 clients. Really brought me to my knees. And I had suicidal ideations. I just like, it was intense, really, really intense, important period of my life. And I was doing my best to keep being helpful. Social media was somewhat new. I was posting, and Alejandro writes to me, says, you know, if you would meditate as much as you're posting, you'd have something really powerful to share.
I remember that day.
And I took it very seriously, and I deepened my practice.
But I'm going to give you hope on something.
Yeah.
I used to think the same thing. I used to think that I have to be not completely living the example, but when you are in a good state, you can affect people better, and there's some part of that that is true. But I'll tell you something: some people, it's just what they are. They are vessels for promoting healing, and because I realize that even if I don't have to fix their God, even people that come and spend time with me, and I have like a clinic wherever I am. I always have rooms, and people come and stay, and they come sick and they go back healthy. And yeah, I tell them supplements, and I take them off certain foods, and I cook for them and everything. But even when I'm feeling like shit myself, I notice people get better.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
worry too
Well,
much about it.
yes, yes.
Don't get inhibited if you're having a bad day or a bad month or a bad year, because I think you have something which is the healing energy, and just by being there, even if you're crying, people are going to benefit.
It's taken a long time to see that and notice it and notice less words are necessary. Sometimes none.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Alejandro, thank you so much. I have missed you. It's great to be with you. I'm so grateful for all the listeners, that all the things that are coming. At some point, we're going to see if we can get you to do an Instagram live so people can ask questions. Ideally, maybe the week that this comes out. And
So what we can
just
do
thank
is
you.
we can do an Instagram live, and the viewers can request to join, and we can do consultations right there in real time. That's a really really cool thing to do.
So we'll be in touch. We'll figure that out. I'm learning a lot about technology, but you'll teach me.
You know,
Alejandro's also been my
stay
Apple
tuned because
whisperer.
I'll be doing it in my Instagram.
Great, 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 great. Perfect, perfect. Any last words?
No, Bobby, I'm happy to see you. Happy to spend time. I'm proud of you. I like what I see. I like what I hear. I mean, a lot of the things that I saw in you that were covered by whatever insecurities and fears and shames, I can see they're melting away. So it's good, man. It's good to see you.
Yeah. So we're going to do what we do, folks. We're going to go into silence together. Partially, this is for my editor, but really it's an opportunity to just experience being together. We are all always connected, and there's such resource of vitality here. So we're going to spend about
See
10 seconds
everything,
together.
hear everything, feel your feet.
That's right. That's right. And lengthen the exhales. Loving the episode? Click to follow, like, and share it as widely as possible. Want to go deeper with the choice to grow? Explore the show notes. You'll find links there for going deeper with our guests, as well as how to work with me in the work of waking up, growing up, cleaning up, and showing up. Thanks for listening. Can't wait to join you in the next episode.